Yeah.
go ahead and start cranking this out. But yeah, we'll
Cool
get this going.
beans. We got 16 on so far. 17, or yeah, I think 16. I'm about to add another one. Oh, someone just sent me their email.
Hell yeah, awesome. So I'll go ahead and get this up on screen. I'm just gonna have to become a lot more on the line of just switching the title slash links in and out, which will be fun. Um, Ayuk and Pittman, who to start? I lean towards Pittman with Minshew likely being the starter.
Yeah, I would agree.
Um, let's see here. I don't know. The big thing that I like, I'm just stuck in a constant mind meld of like trying to translate fantasy basketball to fantasy football. Because I feel like if you can do that, it just becomes really simple. Um,
Dude, you weren't lying about those Australian YouTubers. Like, I was going through, like, trying to do some research or whatever on potential draft strategies and stuff for basketball, and it was all Australians on there, man.
no, it's like every single one, and like I'm, it's dope. Like that's like a way we can connect in theory, but like I was expecting to have like one person from the U.S. telling me about fantasy basketball,
For
but
real.
not a single one. And like you're looking for draft strategies as well, and it's like I don't know if I'm just too dumb or if like I just don't get it. And that's why I keep like annoying you guys about like is like a center like a tight end or a running back essentially because like
It, it's
there's
just
no one
weird
that
because,
does
like, I
that.
don't really see anybody using, like, draft kind of, like, formulas. Everyone I hear is, like, drafting for value, just straight value, like, aren't trying to get, like, X and X first. Like, I do think getting a couple big guards, like, by big, I mean, like, good guards first is probably a good strategy, especially this year. But
Yeah, I don't know. I just look at him like okay, Jason Tatum seems to be the clear like outside of Jokic because like he's averaging like 2 fantasy points per minute. Like I don't know. I'm just trying to look at it from a math sense like that, whereas like Jason Tatum's the only other player that seems to really stand out. And obviously, like their fantasy points per minute is going to oscillate per year slash like situation.
hmm
But like I don't know. Like I know I can get Mark Williams in theory later, and he's not going to do everything for me, but like he's going to be able to do the majority of the things that I need. Um,
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Mark Williams is a good example of, like, one of those, like, kind of towards the bench half of the draft, like, pickups that could
well,
boost your team.
and that's what I'm saying because like when you're doing like your regular draft or whatever, the tight ends are typically like what you grab off of the waiver wire,
hmm
just because like not everyone's going to get Travis Kelsey, or like for in our kind of example here, Jokic. But it's like Bam is surprisingly efficient as well, surprisingly for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Like, he doesn't miss that many shots. Like, they work him into the offense too with a little bit of passing and, like, kind of getting the ball up and down the court.
I guess is there just not like a lot of like statistical like studies slash history on basketball for fantasy?
I mean, I wouldn't say I've gotten into draft strategy enough to tell you confidently that there isn't, but I don't think it's been explored nearly to the extent that fantasy football has.
I would say because like when we do like player profiles for fantasy football, it's like well he makes this combine time, this height, this speed, whatever, yada yada yada, and he becomes Justin Jefferson by year 3 in theory.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm surprised I haven't seen anything like that for basketball. So I guess that's where my nerdy ass is going to be heading forward. But now that we have
Yeah.
Grant and Hira, we can start headed back in the world of fantasy footballs. You were gonna say
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, wait, what was I gonna say? What were you just talking about?
just like that no one's really done like statistical comparisons from like a player profile standpoint. Like no one's looked at John Morant and been like, okay, like because he averaged X, Y, and Z for his first 3 years or whatever, this typically pans out to be this type of player or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Which is normally like what we'll see in like fantasy football at least. Like if you have a receiver like Garrett Wilson, for example, last year, a big reason why everyone's so excited about like him and like Chris Olave is because if you do well your rookie season, you have like an 80 to 85% chance of continuing to be good. So like fantasy basketball, it's like what rules apply for that, and like I try to find stuff on Dynasty or anything along those lines, and it's like, yeah, you have Paolo Banchero like having similar rookie year stuff to like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kareem, and I'm like, as much as I want to put him in that tier, I just don't see that possible.
No, I
It's
think it
also
applies almost more in basketball. I mean, you see like the rookie of the year usually numbers build. Like, I
Well,
mean, I'm not
rookie of the
saying
year
Paul
normally
Banchero
doesn't
is going to be.
produce, which is
Oh,
weird.
I disagree. I mean,
I'm
I
looking at
don't
like
think
Ben
Banchero is going
Simmons,
to
for
be
example.
LeBron.
Like
Oh, yeah, he's an anomaly.
the rookie of the
But
years don't always like have true hits. Like Andrew Wiggins, I love him as a player. I think he's great, but he's not like
careful,
all star tier.
he objectively is an all star.
He objectively is, but I'm saying like he's the guy on the team. Like you have Curry, who's always going to come before him.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
I wouldn't call him a bust, but he hasn't been like the player that people thought he'd be. But if you look at the past, I mean, the rookies of the year are Luca, Jaw, LaMelo, Scotty Barnes, Banchero. Like all of those
oh
guys are
yeah,
going to continue to ascend.
there's still some great. It's just like none of them are truly turning into that like actual superstar as of yet. Like albeit that's part of what I'm excited about with like Palo, but like I'm still not going to be the one to pull the trigger to be like, he's actually the next LeBron James. Get over yourself.
No,
Like
yeah, fair.
because like if I did, then I'd just be looking at all the like numbers that are pointing towards that direction, which could be very well true, but like
are we live right now?
yeah, we're just been yapping about
All
fantasy
right, yeah.
basketball for a minute.
I think we should switch it over to the teams.
Okay, sounds good.
How many do we have today?
We're starting with 17.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's essentially what I've been trying to figure out all day is like what's the weird things that make sense. But to get back to this, so if you want to get your team rated, join the Discord. The link to that is in the bio. And what you got to do is from there, you then DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon, like the basketball player, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team onto this specific stream here. I know you guys have enjoyed our fantasy basketball talk, but that is exactly where my brain has been for the past few days. Starting off here, we've got Hurts with Back to the Future rocking on top of it. Raheem Mostert, Alvin Kamara, Adam Thielen, Amon St. Brown, Travis Kelce, Kyron Williams, and Jason Sanders. I mean, this team just got kind of screwed by injuries. Looking off the rip of it, like losing both Austin Eckler and Justin Jefferson really sucks. There's like this team was insanely stacked before Justin Jefferson and Austin Eckler.
I mean, what would you do to recover from the situation they're in with Mostert, Eckler, Jettas? Like,
I think people have a lot of interest in both Mostert and Kamara, but I think I need to keep at least one of them. I think realistically, I'm willing to sell out of Kirk. I'm willing to sell out of Nico potentially. I'm willing to sell out of Adam Thielen. Like basically the majority of the team here, I'm willing to sell.
Kyron.
Yeah, just because like Kyron, Mostert, and Kamara, all values seem relatively inflated, but I can get like better players because like Eckler's going to come back and he's going to be something I can rely on in theory. And I just need another running back that's super strong to back him up, and then I need another flex that's pretty strong as well to kind of hold on with. Hopefully, I'm on St. Brown here, but like you can be selling high in Christian Kirk right now because Zay Jones is back. You have Kyron Williams, who's fine, who's going to be in for a good week this week, but you can sell out of him realistically. I don't know, like this team just got kind of screwed by injuries, but there's a lot of pieces you can move that's really revolves around the flex position more than anything, which kind of goes in line with the running back spot. Just a lot of ways to pivot out.
Yeah, there are a good amount of ways to pivot out with this team. They got kind of lucky in the sense that like for some reason like they got Kirk, they got Thielen, they got Kyron, like all players, and Nico, like all players you could argue are like inflated in value right now. So I think it's time for trades for this team for sure.
I mean, it's got to be like a 2-team league, right?
Yeah, it looks.
I mean, he has
It's
Kelsey,
insanely
Jefferson, and
stacked.
Eckler, or just some very good trades that worked out. But I mean, you have 3 top 5 projected picks plus Amon-Ra, who was probably pick 11-ish.
Yeah. Like, it's just a very, very strong team. And that's why it's kind of weird to talk about, because you look at it, it's like, well, you have Travis Kelsey, and you technically have Amon-Ra, and, like...
I've seen some rumors here. I'm curious on your take, Wells, that Justin Jefferson will not play again the rest of the season. What do you think about this?
As much as I want to, like, put those rumors to theoretical, like, bed here, I just don't think that's the case. Like, I think that, like, he is probably out for the season at this point. I think they're just going to say screw
You
it.
think?
Yeah. Like,
I mean, not like medically, but like
Not
I don't think
medically.
they're gonna take any.
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
they'll literally just look at it and be like, okay, like, you are an amazing talent. You're out initially 4 weeks, and then they're going to look at it and be like, probably by the time they lose 2 to 3 more games, they're just going to sit there and be like, well, this was fun. Now that we're 1-7 by then, 1-6, one of the two.
They'll win a couple games. They could win this weekend.
In theory, they could. I just think that their secondary is not great either. But
That probably means that Jefferson never catches a pass from Kirk Cousins again.
well, that's kind of what I'm leading to. Is I look at that and I'm like, you have a chance at getting a top tier pick here in theory. Why wouldn't you just like?
He wants a young quarterback there. Yeah.
Yeah, like why not go ahead and get somebody young? Like that just makes the most sense to me. And I think Kirk Cousins is going to be a Jet. Like, I'm very confident.
But like mid-season or no?
I think mid-season is definitely a possibility.
Is his contract up at the end of this year?
Probably. I just wouldn't be surprised if he ends up a Jet, just because I think they're looking for a solution over there. He meets the kind of criteria. Who knows?
I think if he's a free
Maybe
agent
they
at the
do
end
a
of this
swap
year, it
with
makes a lot of
Rodgers.
sense. But
They get Rodgers out of there. It's the full Brett
No,
Favre
he's a free agent.
transformation.
he's a free agent after the season, so they could just leave him and then Rodgers would come back next year.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not too worried about them. I would just anticipate that they're going to be, I wouldn't say participating in the Caleb Williams race, because I think like the Bears kind of have that on lock at this point. But
Would you trade anything for Jettas Wells?
I probably wouldn't at this point, just because it's like, what if he really is out? Like, the person that I'm having a hard time determining their value is not KJ Osborne, but Jordan Addison. Because, like, I do want him on my team for fantasy because I just think he's very talented. But I also look at it, I'm like, is this that short-term thing, or is it the longer-term thing that we're kind of looking at? But, like, I know some people are asking, should you trade, like, Justin Jefferson for Jonathan Taylor? I wouldn't be trading that, just because it's like Justin Jefferson, if he comes back fully healthy, like we're seeing with Cooper Kupp here, then he's going to essentially be game-breaking, and you kind of screwed yourself. And now you have Jonathan Taylor, who's going to be on a slow ramp-up himself. So long-winded essay aside, this is a very solid team. Just some trades you can make here that will kind of bolster your roster even further, even though this still is just a very, very strong team, no matter way you kind of slice it here. Your guys that I'd be more interested in selling would be Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, maybe even Jalen Hurts, because you have Kirk Cousins, like Alvin Kamara. Like, there's just so many pieces that you can sell at this team that continues making it a super team. Let's see here. A lot of people with Justin Jefferson now on IR, I think, is a very big thing we're probably going to be seeing.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, Austin Eckler, Jesus Christ, Bijan Robinson, Chris Olave, Puka. Another very, 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 very strong team, and had Justin Jefferson not gotten injured, this team would be beyond cracked. I do have concerns about the Anthony Richardson situation, because typically for shoulder injuries, you get some form of a timeline. And here, there was no timeline of any variety kind of given out. It was just like, we'll see, which I do think is a bit concerning. I also don't think you need to have three quarterbacks rostered on a team, but I do understand it's partially due to Richardson. I don't really have a concern of having three guys on my roster. I'd rather have Jefferson sitting on IR just because I think that Richardson has more droppability than Jefferson realistically does. It just feels like a clogged bench, if anything. Overall, it's a super team, though. Just like need more consistency in this receiving room now because you are without Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones typically fills in for your flex spot here. So you're technically needing something more consistent for your wide receiver, too, which you have plenty of pieces to use in a trade for. Anything else on this team?
Yeah, I would say wide receiver 2 and 1 could use work. Like Olave theoretically should have been better, but he hasn't proven to be consistent enough yet.
Start James Cook over Downs.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that either. This should be a very heavy script for them. Also, what's the overall hype with Tajay Spears now? I thought they were still splitting work. I know he had a good weekend, but I thought him and Henry were splitting work.
I think it's just the fact that they're splitting work and he's been looking good. Like, it's Derrick Henry, like the fact that he's taken so many touches off of him and performing, like, kind of just makes sense as like a waiver wire pickup.
I just seen a lot more people asking if they should put Tajay Spears in their lineup, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I like Tajay, but I'm pretty sure Derrick Henry's still alive and breathing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He's like definitely still just an elite handcuff for me at this point, but I think he's worth a bench spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could start either of them.
So a trade question here from Chesky in the chat. Do you trade AJ for Jefferson and Taylor? You already have Cup. So you're trading away AJ Brown and receiving Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor. Would you guys do that?
I mean, I don't really mind it that much. I think it's fair. Like,
I guess if you were drafting Jonathan Taylor today, where are you drafting Jonathan Taylor? I think that's really the big question mark. Because that's how I try to determine value in my head.
Late second round.
Okay. Because essentially you're still giving up that late first because I think A.J. Brown's value hasn't really changed too heavily for, Jonathan Taylor because Justin Jefferson is a question mark. But if he's, full go, then, that's a smash for the Justin Jefferson side, especially with playoffs.
I think the Vikings, they're 1-4. I think there's a chance that they're 4-6 when he comes back. Most likely, probably 3-7, I guess, which means that he's probably not going to get rushed back. I think if they somehow win 3 of these games, they're playing some mediocre teams. If they can win 3 of the 4 games, that I would think that there's a good chance he comes back for a few weeks, but I'm not positive about that. The more wins, the better for sure.
I mean, if you have Addison, I would generally just consider sending him Addison for Jefferson straight up and see how he reacts. I doubt it works.
Would you do that if you were getting Jefferson?
If I'm the one getting Jefferson, I would happily give up Addison for the short term. Because it's
who knows though? It's just so hard to predict. If Jefferson never plays again this year, then the Addison side is Addison could be a top 10 receiver the rest of the year. Who knows?
We're gonna move to the next team here, but I agree. That is the very difficult question with this specific batch of injuries. Is you really don't know how. I wouldn't say serious, but I guess serious is probably the proper term here.
No fractional points is interesting. How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm in a brain fart. This is a very good team. It's just Jaden Reed, I wouldn't say he's cuttable, but he really is cuttable. Boyd is a nice fill-in. Palmer's a nice fill-in. You have a bunch of wide receiver twos. There's only one person on your team here that is known as the clear wide receiver 1 on their team. Everyone else is a wide receiver 2, so that's pretty impressive. but like the running backs are really solid. It's just like no one is going to consistently demand targets out of like CeeDee Lamb right now, whose defense is either just absolutely dominating or is just completely irrelevant. It's really no in between. Um, that's my only thing that I don't really like about this specific team here. Looks like we lost Jackson to the internet police once again. Oh, nope, he's back.
What up?
Let's see here. But like that's just my issue is the fact that like there's no true like dominant alpha target guy outside of CeeDee Lamb, and he's not really been playing that role. So like your running backs are fine. I don't really even want you to change your running back room like at all. I would just try to consider making like one of these wide receivers into something that's more consistent slash elite. But it's hard to do that when neither of them are really performing to a zenith. But overall, like all like pessimistic comments aside, like this is a very very strong team still. I would have concerns over Justin Herbert's ability to perform, even though it is his non-dominant hand. And yes, we are rating teams, Andrew. So for those of you wondering exactly how to get your team rated, you pop in the Discord. Link to that is in the bio. And you DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team rated on this specific stream.
And make sure to send me a direct message and not in one of the channels in the Discord. It's much easier for me to find if you just message me directly.
But overall, it's a solid team. Just like as noted, like the bench is just, I guess to put it simply, is thin would probably be the proper term. Like you're not having something that's consistent enough to keep your body warm. Jalen Hurts, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, AJ Brown, Puka Nakua, Darren Waller, Zay Flowers. I don't like that you have an extra bench spot that's just open for a defense that you could fill it with.
Start Brees Hall.
Yeah, start Brees
Over
Hall.
Zay Flowers, please.
Opportunities are just there.
Would you start Nico Collins over Jonathan Taylor too, or Zay Flowers over Jonathan Taylor?
I'd start Zay Flowers over Jonathan Taylor just because it's a really good matchup. Basically, any single time that Zay's had actually like an easier schedule for like the receiving room, he's had 10 targets, which makes me think he's due for a big game one of these. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's against Tennessee's lack of a secondary. I mean, the Ravens have no ground game right now either, so like it makes sense. The only problem with that game is how low scoring as it's supposed to be, but I also believe that's primarily because of like there is no offense for Tennessee right now.
And yeah, I would just throw Brees in for Jonathan Taylor then, and I think that's looks like a perfect roster for what you have.
Brees more, JT more time.
Waller finally had a good week for you, and other than that, I mean, Kamara's looked unreal. Hurts is still cooking, and the rest looks good.
Yeah,
no complaints at all.
Yeah, like you can't really change too much with this team. In theory,
don't start the Jets.
Yeah.
One thing, but yeah.
In theory, build up your wide receiver 2 to something more, like I would say sustainable, but like your flex spot can always be somewhere you can really improve. Just because like Zay may be able to get you like 10 targets in a week, same thing with Puka. But like Zay's quarterback situation isn't, I wouldn't say sustainable. It's just like they haven't been able to connect to the degree that you want for like consistency. Puka, definitely going to have a true role, so I don't really want to be giving up on him. But I do look at it in the sense of like he's not going to be commanding nearly as many targets as he once did and be that true league winner for me. So just some food for thought, but like it overall. Let's see here. Just an absolutely cracked roster here. As soon as I saw Chris Olave on the bench, I was like, there has to be a good reason. And fortunately, there were 2 solid reasons, and that of Diggs and Ridley here, and Puka. I mean, in theory, like trade up your running back too, but like Joe Mixon is more than fine, Puka's fine, Chris Olave is fine. Like it's just very well set up to produce well.
And yeah, that's what I was going to say. Would you sell high on Puka now since you have Olave there?
Yeah, but like the question then becomes like, what exactly do I want in return? My goal would be like Tony Pollard. Um, in which case, I think I could offer up like James Conner in addition to Puka, maybe. But that's probably not going to work considering James Conner's now on IR. A little bit,
Javante,
yeah.
Jacoby.
Like, there's a lot of ways you could do it, but like, it's a very, very solid team. My favorite thing is if you have a strong receiver and you'll see a strong running back, because that allows you to, I wouldn't say multi-flex, but like position yourself accordingly for how you go about this. But I like it. I just try to upgrade a running back here, just because that's the only way to get it more sustainable. But I like it overall.
Guys, real quick, do you think I should accept submissions for like salary cap teams for like those FanDuel contests?
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot do those.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that, but we would all get fired. So can't do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Moving on.
moving on. Let's see here. Justin Fields, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, Amari DiMarcardo, and DJ Moore. I mean, very, very strong until you look at the running back situation. Like, that's the only part that kind of sucks about this team. I like that he has Keontae Ingram sitting on his bench as well, though, because that allows a lot of room. For
Do you think
Aaron.
Keontae Ingram's a start this week over DeMercado? I know a lot of people were adding DeMercado, and then the news came out today that he's still the number one on the depth chart. Keontae is, but it's kind of hard to get a read on that one. What's your opinion?
I mean, I think he's still the guy, as like you're kind of alluding to. I do think it'll be a split backfield, but like I'm pretty confident Keontae is the guy. Um, whereas like
The
even
projections are all
DeMarcado,
off too.
it's like it's flipped projections like you're putting. So it's like you want to believe that DeMarcado is probably the better guy between the two. But wasn't Keontae like I wouldn't say he was on IR, but he was injured, which typically makes him like lean more that way. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be saying to start either of these guys. I still think you need to see how it plays out. But considering the person whose like team is sitting here, I guess you ride with DeMarcado for now until we have like a much better understanding of Keontae because your running back spot is really really light here, and that is an area I would consider like selling high on DJ Moore for. I think DJ Moore is great, but like your running back two is in shambles right now, and you can fill in Tyler Boyd, Tank Dell, or realistically you want Keontae or DeMarcado in that flex spot if needed. Like you have a lot of flex options here. I don't want your running back spot being that weak. I'm imagining this team had Nick Chubb on it.
Maybe, but there's Diggs and Adams too, so maybe
Yeah.
they just went two receivers first.
I can see
Um,
that as well.
the Adams news is so out of control right now. It makes no sense.
What is the deal
He
with
was
that?
like, well, like 2 weeks ago, he was like, I just want to win, and people were like, oh, he's gonna want to leave Vegas, and then he was like, they win a game, and he has like 7 targets for whatever 65 yards or something, and people are like, well, you're not getting the ball now, so you must want to leave. And he was like, no, I just want to win, like I said last time. And now there's still trades getting cooked up and all this stuff. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
It
I
seems like
haven't
that
been able to
got a
understand.
little bit of what he wanted.
Yeah, like he's getting the ball like he wants, and apparently this is a 14 man. So for a 14 man, I think this is very very strong. Um,
Oh yeah.
but like running backs, as we point out, needs a little bit of juice.
You could even sell high on a DJ Moore since your receivers are so good, or sell high on a Diggs or Adams or something like that, and then tier down for a running back, I guess, like in a where you get two and they would get one. Because I mean, DJ Moore is a perfectly fine flex option, obviously, but your receiving room is just like way outweighing your running back room there. So there's potential to maybe tier down and pick up some new options there.
Yeah, overall solid. We're going to move on. We got Joey B, Bijan, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams. I mean, very solid starting roster. You've got basically the whole entire Rams team on your bench. Um,
Trade Kyron, I guess, is the only thing off rip. I mean, maybe start him over Addison. I get why you have Addison there. The potential is nice, but I mean, I don't know how deep your league is, but having Kyron and Puka on the bench, who are both guys that should be starting, feels like a
Feels weird.
waste. So package those up, and you could get like an elite player. Like I think even just those two probably gets you like Tony Pollard or something. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, just go make some 2-for-1s, and this team will look even better than it does already.
Yeah, like it's more than a fine team, as he just pointed out. Like Kyron and Puka together, just that should be more than enough in itself. Yeah. Um,
Oh,
Lord.
wait, hold up. Let me see what's going on here. Maybe there's a picture behind the other one. Oh, yep. There you go.
Let's see. Some technical support. Let's see here. Tua, Chase, Waddle, Keenan, Eckler. I mean, it's just gross. Like, this team's gross. There's nothing else to say. Um, in theory, like, build up a better RB2 or more consistent wide receiver 2. Because I just don't think Kamara and Waddle really bring that for you. If this is a 10-man, I don't even know what to say. It's a very cracked roster. Like, there's really nothing at all to say. Um, yeah, words.
Yeah, I did it twice.
Gucci.
Yeah, that's the last one that's like that. Oh, you got it.
Quick learner I am. Let's see here. Justin Fields, Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, Mike Evans, Nico Collins, with Devontae Smith chilling on the bench.
And Rashad.
What's the deal with Devontae Smith? Why does everybody hate him all of a sudden again? Is it because he's not getting consistent, like, 10 plus targets a game?
It was just last week or this past week, I guess, that he was bad. Before that, his weeks had all been pretty good, but yeah, I don't know. It seems weird. As soon as AJ Brown complained, he started getting 10 targets, and it's kind of flip flopped from where it was the first few weeks.
I mean, that's how it's
Um,
always been for them, though. But
but
that's a
we
little
saw this
frustrating.
last year where AJ
Yeah.
Brown was on a tear, and then at the end of the year, Devontae was the guy. So I would say just be patient. I don't know if there's really much else there. It's hard to sell him right now because you're kind of selling it a low,
I'd put him in
even though
over
I think
Mike
he'll be better.
Evans. I don't want to be starting Mike Evans first week back off of a hamstring injury.
Yeah, definitely put Devontae in there. But I think that is honestly just the main reason. It's like that, what Grant just said, paired with them having a matchup against the Jets this week that like might make him less attractive than the normal
Yeah,
bright and shiny Devontae Smith.
but
I think the Jets matchup favors
I think
Devontae this
I was
week
about to say it
because you
favors
could
him.
see Sauce mirroring AJ, or maybe they put Sauce on Devontae because their like body profile
Well, isn't that
matches up
Reed
more.
kid
But
out as
you,
well?
huh?
I'm pretty sure that Reed kid, that's their other corner,
Yeah,
is
their
out.
other corner with Reed out is
Oh yeah.
famous street fighter Bryce Hall.
um,
But yeah, I mean, I think if Sauce mirrors AJ Brown, which I think is likely, that Devontae could have a huge game there and be the guy this week. So
and that's
uh,
pretty. I wouldn't say simple logic, but like it's a very like strong logic to use for a lot of fantasy football because like if you're going against a weak corner or the weaker of the two corners, the one who has that matchup typically fares better. And in this case, like Grant's pointing out, it should be Devontae Smith, and that should favor him very well, especially with the market now hating him. Um, I just don't like Mike Evans right off the rip. I think Derrick Henry's a sell high guy if you can. You have the um, hedge there of Tajay. I mean, in theory, just build up a more consistent flex that you can fill in for like Derrick Henry's spot when the time comes. So like leaning you more towards a running back, if anything. But
I
that's
love
all
that
I
you
want for
have
this team.
Ty J though,
Yeah,
because eventually it'll probably get to a point where maybe even Henry gets traded or something like that, and you'll have Ty J there. So whichever way the backfield goes, or if one of them gets injured or something, you're set to have the other guy in there. So
yeah. Just a very fun team, very receiver heavy, but like very strong overall. To have gotten both Devontae Smith and Olave is impressive. But really not too much else to say about this team. Stafford, Pollard, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Jake Ferguson, Alvin Kamara, Kyron. So lots of flexes here.
And they're all good.
And they're all fine. Yeah, I mean, you're just getting consistent good points, and that's what really matters, it looks like, in this league, and it's a very strong team. You punted the quarterback because Watson's not doing you well right now. In theory, try to, like, bump those, like, flexes to something even, like, stronger with, like, the combination of, like, James Cook and Nico Collins on top of it if you really want to, but, like, you don't really even need to do that. Like, just a very solid team. Like, that's going to be able to get you points. You just don't know which running back is really going to be the one popping off each week.
When is Jamal Williams eligible to come off the IR? Is it this week or next week?
One of the two. I'd imagine it's probably next week.
I'm curious to see how the Kamara role changes with that, but I mean, for now, he's looked better than I expected. He's been great.
Interesting.
For sure. And Jamal wasn't exactly the best when he was playing at the beginning of the season either.
No. He just might vulture some goal line work and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, if you're looking to get your team rated like this, just go ahead and click the link to the Discord, which is in our TikTok bio, and send me a direct message on there at Jamario Moon to get your team rated tonight.
Let's see here. They're saying the link isn't working. Well, it worked when I clicked on it. So
let me give it a try.
People who are popping in here through there, seems to be working for them, but we'll see what we can do.
This dude has a sick bench.
Tua, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Jalen Waddle. Yeah, bench is really strong. But, like, not a lot of options that you can start right now.
The link's working for me too, by the way, Wells. I think we're good.
Awesome.
Would you start, like, Pierce or Ford this week over Jonathan Taylor, maybe?
That's what I'm trying to think. I would.
It's they're kind of even, yeah.
Trying to think. Like, I like it. Like, it's a very strong team, but it's also like it's not even like injury. Like, it's injury riddled, but it's not.
Yeah. Obviously, what's happened to Jefferson and Achon is bad, but Achon was probably a guy that you were picked off of waivers or picked very late.
This team looked like it was absolutely cracked beyond belief.
The Jefferson stuff sucks because obviously it was your first pick and everything, but you've done a good job rebuilding after that and kind of finding the right guys that have overperformed, like Nico Collins and guys like that. So,
and for those asking where to get your team rated, you DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon on the Discord, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team on this live. I just don't think Kyron is sustainable. I'm just. It's probably poor logic. I just don't think it's fully sustainable. But, like, running back pieces are hard to buy right now.
Do you think it's not sustainable because he will perform less and the offense will perform less, or because there will be another guy that comes in there?
I just think another guy comes in. I think they like him, but it's like a big reason why he was able to get you a consistent, like, 12, 15 fantasy points or whatever it was because he was used heavily in the passing game as well.
Yeah.
Whereas now Cooper Kupp's back, and it's like, okay, so only thing he's doing right now is on the ground. Awesome. So now he's touchdown dependent. Like, that's just for me. I don't mind selling out of receivers here to build up on my running back core a little bit. Just because you have so many, like, phenomenal pieces. And you DM it to him, Colby, at Jamario Moon on the Discord. I don't know. Like, I like this team a lot. It's just, like, I don't know. I probably have a bad thesis on Kyron, but I think if he has, like, a great game against Arizona, you could also still high on him there. Like Damon Pierce will come into form. Achon when he's back should be great. Ford's fine.
I think Pierce picks it up too.
Yeah. Like in theory, build up like a even stronger flex spot if you want. Let's see here. Should you trade JJ for Amonra and Swift? Would you trade Justin Jefferson for Amonra and Swift? Because Amonra is battling himself some injury as well.
Jefferson for Amonra and Swift?
Yeah.
I think I would.
I think that's a fine trade. If you're like one of those teams where your flex spot is a little bit in question, like I think Swift is a good enough ad there to make that worth it.
Yeah.
That's guaranteed production versus kind of a variable, and even if Jefferson comes back, I don't think the combination of those two is that much worse. So,
but who do you drop on this team? That's the issue.
Huh?
Who do you drop on this team?
JSN.
You would drop JSN. Okay.
I mean, of those, I'm not saying he's bad, but compared to everyone else on there, yeah.
I would even consider like paying a premium and like trading away, like, I don't know, Amari Cooper and like Devon. Nah, you can't really even do that. Like, I wouldn't mind doing a 2-for-1 to really like take it another step forward. But I think it's fine. I'm not really sold on starting Jonathan Taylor this week, but based off of the depth you have, he's probably the better option. Just because like Dameon Pierce isn't going to be in the best game script, I imagine. At least at the moment. Let's see here. Nico and Ford for CD. What are your guys' thoughts about that one?
Nico and Ford for
I prefer CD.
I like that. I think the idea of this team doing more 2-for-1s than bringing in the 1-for-2s like we talked about with Jefferson is probably the more productive way to go because your bench is so talented and you'll have Achon back eventually for sure. So packaging up those two guys for a guy that's a more consistent starter, I feel like is the right way to approach it.
Agreed. We got Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, AJ Brown, Puka, Mark Andrews, and Jordan Addison. Waddle sitting on the bench. So is Gibbs and Watson and Marquise Brown. I mean, this team's just very, very loaded in terms of its depth. Get a higher tier wide receiver too here if you're not going to use Jalen Waddle. There's no reason to have this be Puka. Like, I love Puka. I think he's going to be consistent in a lot of facets. But, like, I don't really see why we're so, I wouldn't say low, but, like, I mean, high. Like, you just have a lot of pieces that you could really upgrade this specific spot. I think your running back room is fine. I just would be trying to improve the wide receiver spot more than anything. Maybe get something even more entertaining for the flex spot and put Addison in that extra wide receiver spot. Just a lot of really top-tier talented receivers, realistically.
It's tough to sell Waddle right now. That was the only thing.
He needs a good game. But I think people are, I don't know. I think people are more interested in buying in Puka and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Would you be buying into Ramondre's bounce back? He has the easiest running back schedule for the rest of the season, apparently. And I can't tell if I personally would.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see this weekend. The Raiders' run D has been actually pretty good, but it's not like a great run D. But if he has a bad week this week, I think he's probably cooked.
I mean, his snap share's just gone down in every single week.
Yeah.
Not to mention he's like Zeke has had better yards per carry in pretty much every game they've played together,
which is just insane. I'm just looking at it as well because it's like his is rising, which is the inverse side of the coin. So we'll see kind of how that goes between the two. Let's see here. But yeah, that's really all you can do. You just have a lot of talent sitting on the bench. Should you buy Aaron Jones on the bye week? Yeah, I think buying in Aaron Jones is fine. Let's see here. Josh Dobbs, Isaiah Pacheco, Alvin Kamara. This is the red team. Marquise Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Dalton Schultz, Saquon Barkley, Texans defense, and Harrison Butker. I don't like Schultz at the tight end, but you initially took a shot on Kyle Pitts. That didn't work for you.
He's actually good last week.
Yeah, Schultz had a good day last week.
So did Pitts.
I imagine this is a deeper league, just
Or
because
there's got
like
to be an injury somewhere down the line.
yeah, just because like
Chubb.
it doesn't make a lot of sense based off how this team is built. That and why it's all red. Um, I don't know. Saquon goes up here. Kamara's a fine flex. Yeah, like I just think that these are just all one tier too low. So I agree with Jackson that there had to be some form of like an injury um, to really take this a step back. Albeit Najee Harris ADP was higher than where we have it now mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just not a lot you can use on the bench to like take these receivers up a level, even though I think they're fine in their consistency or the running backs. And like Kamara is somebody I would consider even trying to sell high on to improve it further. I think Josh Downs is going to do wonders for you while Gardner Minshew is in the lineup. So he could be somebody you could even sell on if needed. There's not really too much else to say about this team, in my opinion, just because it's like Najee Harris and Kyle Pitts just didn't really work for you, which sucks. But is what it is.
Kind of looks like a Nick Chubb team, besides there being so many running backs.
That's my kind of wonder too, because it's like there's no one that was really taken in the first round. Um,
Saquon, maybe.
but like Saquon, even then, is like a bit of a reach. Like he was late second, early first type deal, which is in that range, but it's just like I think Nick Chubb was still ahead of him. So we'll see. It's not a bad team. It's just like it feels, I guess, out of place. Let's see here. Tua, Tony Pollard, Joe Mixon, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Logan Thomas, Austin Eckler. Um, let's see here. I mean, running backs are cracked. Receivers are realistically cracked. Like the flex is the only technical spot you need upgrade in, but like even that like is more than fine. I think this is a top tier team. Anything you guys have to say about this one?
I mean, not really. No, I like who they have to fill in for their starters, and I mean they got Joe Mixon and DK, or they got Joe Mixon in the flex on a bad day, pretty
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
like nothing too much to say about this one either. So moving on, we got Kirko 2 Chains, we got Bijan, Tony P, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase. This guy must have had a very, very fun weekend. Evan Ingram, Marquise Brown. I mean, both Josh Dobbs and Kyler Murray sitting on your bench just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Um, I've just never been a big hold a bunch of quarterbacks guy. Your flex is fine. Your running backs are more than fine. Like this team is just great. Only thing that you technically need is like a better backup to put into your flex, but like Tyler Lockett technically fills that build. Um, Even though your running back really has no support whatsoever for whenever one of these two are on a bye.
What do you think about DJ Moore going forward? Do you think he stays closer to this level or closer to what we saw first couple weeks?
I mean, schedule's easy. That's
Yeah.
the one thing I will kind of like point out for him is like his schedule's easy, so he should be able to perform better. But it's like, is this passing consistency really going to stay there? Are they going to be able to scheme? Because it's like, I'll find the exact statistic of it, but it's very rare you see people really pop outside of like 250 fantasy points, even when they're in the top 10. So it's like, okay, let's put him in that. That's like 50 fantasy points there, so that's like 20% of his production in a very short time for and just a singular game. Then we look at his actual fantasy points; it's like 100 something right now. So then it's like, okay, he's already at 40% of his production. So I have a hard time believing that's, so to speak, fully sustainable. But I like this setup for him. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, he's not going to stay at 40, but I think as long as Fields is throwing the ball as much as he is, there's not really any other pass catchers that really threaten a lot of targets away from DJ Moore.
I think this is a perfect projection for him 17, 17 and a half. I think where he's currently at, and I think this is what I was trying to get at, is like I don't think a 21 fantasy point projection is technically sustainable for DJ Moore. I just think that's way too high for him. But yeah, overall, really strong team. Right thought. Kirk Cousins, Saquon Barkley, Isaiah Pacheco, Jamar Chase, Amon St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Cooper Kupp. So this guy did some trading. Yeah, just very, very strong team. Like, nothing else to say about this team. Like, congratulations. Um, yeah, like, I even think Isaiah Pacheco is, like, coming into his own. Like, in theory, buy a phenomenal running back flex option with any collection of these people you have sitting on your bench here. So you can have somebody to fill in for one of these two spots that you need, whatever the week is. And
You kind of need a couple weeks of production from some of those guys on your bench, though, for anyone to really like bite on any of them. Like Gibbs hasn't really shown much. Sanders hasn't. DeMercado is just starting this role, and so a big week here would help a lot. And same with Palmer. So kind of just wait and hope for some of those guys having the weeks that people think they could, and then from there you could start to make those 2-for-1 deals.
Exactly. Just a lot of lines in the water right now. But overall, solid team. Mahomes, Brees, Zach Moss, Keenan Allen, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Jake Elliott, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see here. Julian McLaughlin, Miles Sanders, Ramondre Stevenson, Jerome Ford, Curtis Neal, Josh Reynolds, James Conner on IR. Yeah, receivers are very, very strong here. Running backs are theoretical the weak point. Yeah, like this is just honestly a pretty strong team in theory. Like build up your running back 2 even like a step further. But like that's really all I have to say about this team. Anything else on it?
I'm on Discord right now.
You're vibing.
No, I mean you just got to hope that those 3 running backs in the middle of your bench there start to pick it up, so you can decide to make some moves. One of them is going to have to go in for Zach Moss maybe this week. I would maybe start Ramondre there. But in general, a strong team. I think you got to just hope that some of those guys live up to the production that people thought they could get to, and then you can make some moves and upgrade that RB2 slot potentially. But other than that, solid.
But moving forward, we have Kirk 2 Chains, Tony Pollard, Kyron Williams, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Evan Ingram, James Cook, and Adam Thielen. You got KJ Osborne cooking on the bench with D Hop. I mean, it's a very solid team. I would just try to improve the flexes / your RB spot here. Like, Kyron's great, but I do think that there's going to be somebody that's going to be more sustainable as time progresses here. But overall, it's a very solid team. I think Adam Thielen's a sell high. I think KJ Osborne's definitely intriguing. D Hop is somebody I really want to be holding on to. I don't know. I don't think there's anything really too crazy to say about this specific team. Yeah, like Adam Thielen's going to be great for the short term. I just don't see him really progressing forward. James Cook, I think, gets more involved. Kyron, I just think, falls off. I don't know. Lots of similar teams I'm starting to notice. They all build similar. Let's see here. Tua, AJ Brown, Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Puka Nacua. Like, yeah, this is... And Amari Cooper even sitting. Jesus, yeah, this is... I'm going to skip this team in a second. Like, this is great. Oh, that was your team, Victor?
42 points, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to this because this is one of somebody... He's in the chat right now. Who would you trade Kyron Williams for? Like, who would you go out and try to target?
Straight up? I don't know. I mean, I think you could package him with Adam Thielen maybe for like a... I don't know. In the running back world, maybe like a...
You could maybe get like Eckler for something like that from the right person, I feel like.
Obviously, try to get Eckler if you can. You're not going to be able to after this past week, but see what package you could potentially do with like Thielen.
Brees, maybe?
Brees, you could still try straight up. I doubt they'd go for it. He has Pollard. Um,
C-Mac just seems to be off limits for everyone. And then below him, it's kind of Bijan.
Eckler and Olave were just traded for Taylor. That's crazy.
For Jonathan Taylor?
That's insane.
Wow. You should have gotten on that, my man.
Damn.
Trying to think. There's not a lot of
Technically tried to get
elite,
Bijan,
reliable running backs.
but I doubt. We'll see how it goes. Oh, this is Dynasty? Oh, well, this is a much different equation.
Oh.
If this is Dynasty, this is a lot different.
I don't know. Where does Kyron rank for you in Dynasty? It's kind of a weird one.
I'd be trying to
As
sell
long as
him
he has
for
a job.
picks. I'd be selling him for picks if I could, and see what exactly I could get in return. Just because I think like after this season, at the minimum, they're gonna be searching for something else.
I mean, it hasn't really been bad though. Like, there's not a reason for them to really search for anyone else. But
You're 5-0 at the moment. I mean, you have nothing to really worry
it's
about.
hold.
This is just holding. Like Dynasty adds a whole different dimension to this.
That Eckler trade makes a little more sense that way. But Olave is still a very plus Dynasty asset, though.
Oh yeah, Olave. That's the part that messes me up. Jonathan Taylor being a lot more interesting than Austin Eckler. Dynasty is fine because it's like, okay, give JT a season off, he'll be back to form. I mean, it depends if you're really trying to win the league this year, which at 5-0, I think you should really cash in your chips to do so. So I would be taking like pieces and like just whatever draft comp I have realistically here, and I wouldn't say go all in, but I would be a contender in this specifically because like Adam Thielen's not a contending piece, and nor is Kyron Williams realistically. But like I think that James Cook, Evan Ingram, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, and like Tony Pollard with Kirk Cousins, like I think those are all more than fine like actual like win now type pieces. You have a first and 2 seconds for next year.
Maybe, like, how do you see Kenneth Walker's value compared to Kyron?
I think Kenneth Walker has a little bit of a future, but I think that they're relatively similar just because of where Zach Charbonnet's position. I'd try to buy on Bijan in theory. Like
That's got to be a crazy bag you have to throw for
But, yeah,
Bijan in
it's just
Dynasty.
Yeah, in
cheap.
Dynasty.
Like I doubt you could do Kyron in a first, especially based off where your first is going to be next year.
Kyron, Rashad White, a first. I don't even think that gets it done.
I would
It's
just
tough.
try to lowball them as much as I could, but like I would generally try to turn this team into a contender if you're 5-0. There's no reason to not, because like your draft pick is going to be a low first. Adam Thielen is not going to be in the league. Well, he's going to be in the league next year, but he'll be there with his Walker. Let's see here. Kyron Williams, I just don't think next year at all he's going to be anything. So like I would happily be trading on Kyron Williams.
Yeah. Tank Dell's a very plus Dynasty.
Yeah.
He's somebody
Asset.
I want to hold.
Yeah.
Like D Hop, unfortunately, just won't get you any value at this point. I would have said to like try to sell him for a contending piece.
I even think Jalen Waddle this season too, like the way he's looking, when it comes to Dynasty is kind of concerning.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only like 24 though. As a Dynasty asset, it's
Yeah.
not that bad.
Yeah.
I'd consider selling high on Rashad White. They seem like they want a different running back in that backfield as well. Like, that's all. Dynasty's a little more tricky with running backs because everybody has a drastically different opinion on how much a running back should be worth, which is always the fun shenanigans of it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe even selling. I can't sell high on Tony Pollard right now. I don't know. I'd just try to go all in if I could to a degree and like turn this into a contender. Sorry for the long rant.
Guys, I'm probably going to have to hop off this stream soon. So if you want to get your team on this stream in particular or on any stream in the future, send me a DM on the Discord right now, which the link for is in the bio. My username is at Jamario Moon.
And he'll make sure to tell you exactly how to go it. Let's see here. Tua, AJ Brown, Brandon Ayuk, CD Lamb, Saquon. Yeah, well, I think we already basically looked over this for half a second before we hopped. It's a crack team. Nothing to really say about this team here. It's very, very.
The 42 points is weird because I wonder what like Josh Allen's projected or
It's
someone
got to
like
be
that.
like pass attempts or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Like I don't know.
But it's hard to like one quarterback could win you your whole week. It seems like so.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough to stress that. But aside from that, the receivers I like. Ayuk, you can maybe improve a little bit. I guess you have Puka down there as well. So, and your running backs are set, and Aaron Jones there. There's not much really to improve on. Great tight end. 5 good receivers.
Yeah.
I like where you're at.
Solid situation overall. But moving forward, we got Patty Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, another super team of some variety until we get to the wide receivers / flex here. Amari's kind of screwing you right now just because of Deshaun Watson, White, and Ayuk. I think Ayuk's fine, realistically. Like, this is a good team. In theory, you should try to improve the flex a step forward, but, like, this team is more than fine. I like that you're transitioning in and out of different defenses like you should. We just don't know the true story of what the exactable situation is with the running back room. I wouldn't be too worried about Pollard the rest of the season. I just think it's a couple difficult games.
They've either been blowing teams out where they don't want to be risking an injury, or they got blown out and then they don't want to be risking an injury. They haven't really played those kind of like gritty games that you would see Pollard in.
Yeah. Overall, this was a very, very strong team. There's not really too much to recommend. Like, your receivers in theory could be different, but outside of that, like, it's a fine team.
It seems like if you have C-Mac this year, you just win your league. So
pretty much. Let's see here. Justin Fields, Tony Pollard, Bijan Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, Amon St. Brown, Cole Kmet, and Jacoby Myers. There's just no true depth on, like, the flex spot here. But, like, at the same time, you do have Christian Watson and Achon, who are just hurting you at the moment. But I think it's fine. I also think Brock Purdy's a more than fine, consistent starter for fantasy, especially if the market starts to pick up on Justin Fields. In which case, I don't mind selling Fields to improve my flex to another, tier for your flex, or maybe even your tight end spot, just because I don't think that Cole Kmet is very consistent. But that's just me.
He's been good every week since Claypool's been out of there, so who knows? Maybe it's just
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a second. Is Chase Claypool really the big problem in Chicago? Was that really the only like actual issue? The second they're like, you're a healthy scratch, you're not even beyond like the sideline, just get out of here.
I heard a lot of bad things. Not a lot, but I heard bad things about his attitude. Could have been like locker room cancer.
Well, that's everything I heard. He was a locker room cancer, and so to me, I look at that, I'm like, yeah.
Do you see he might be lining up as a tight end in Miami?
They need one. And yes, these will be uploaded to YouTube immediately after Portugal. But yeah, like, I think that is it. I also am wondering, was that part of why that team all of a sudden started looking better?
It can't be just that, but
that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Funny.
Dude, the Dolphins are just done for the rest of the season.
Could you imagine the Claypool curse? Like,
I can imagine it, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe not, it'd be hard with a player that's like really not that impactful, like Claypool, for it to be that huge of a deal. But
that's why they didn't take Jalen Carter, was because of the theoretical locker room issues that he would cause. So like that's why they sent out of it. So to me, I look at him like, you know what, good work. I don't understand Chase Claypool at all. Interesting character, but I'm happy to see the Bears are actually doing okay now. But yeah, that's what this team really needs. Chase Claypool moving forward. We got Kirk Cousins, Isaiah Pacheco, Alvin Kamara, Nico Collins, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelsey, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, DK Metcalf on the bench throws me a little through a loop here. DJ Chark's relevant.
He had a bye last week too.
Yeah. You can't really sell out of Kirk Cousins or Joe Burrow, but they're fine hedges. I mean, you could package Jake Ferguson with Nico Collins, realistically, or DK Metcalf and get like an even higher tiered flex if you want, or a better running back to have behind Kamara or Pacheco. That's the only thing I would really offer to this team is like try to take your running back room to another tier forward because I think Kamara is fine for his usage, but I prefer Pacheco over the long term, and I think there's better options that you can get based off of Kamara's usage at this time. Receivers are fine, but like your flex / running back is where I try to improve. That's all I really have to say about that one. Let's see here. We got some old teams. Jackson's chugging along. We got Kirk Cousins, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Jamar Chase, Puka, Darren Waller, and Amon St. Brown. Just the bench sucks.
Trade Herbert maybe for something.
Yeah, I was about to say like
top 3 or 4 QB.
Yeah, Herbert's the only thing that I can kind of like. This is your team, Shan, or Shan. Not sure how to pronounce that. Sorry if I mispronounced it. And if you want to send your team here before Jackson gets off, you come join the Discord. Link to that as the bio. Then DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team on this stream. But we might be at the point of teams that we just save it for the next stream that we do.
But still DM me because you'll be first on the next stream if we miss you on this one.
Yeah. I mean, the starters are very it's just very contrasted in terms of like your back half here. I just want something more consistent in the flex spot. Like I know it's annoying how often I go back and forth just to like get a flex guy that you can essentially flip into your running back spot, just because like it's a lot more difficult to do from the running back standpoint, and like there's no one that really kind of helps you there. And I think what Grant said about like potentially trading Justin Herbert is not a bad idea right now. I'm just curious to see where he's valued at in the market. But overall, very strong team from the starters, at least. But, like, you're going to have some interesting decisions to make on flex weeks.
Also, how do you see Kirk being affected with no Jefferson? I think he could decline a fair amount.
I think he will. I think that's a very, very good point as well. It just doesn't look like a great spot right now for him. So I'm curious to see how he does. I think he's playing for a job elsewhere, but I'm curious where elsewhere is. Let's see here. Would you start Barkley or Mostert this weekend? I feel like I'd lean towards Mostert right now.
Is it just between those two?
If Mostert has the majority of the run, then I'm going to probably actually lean towards Mostert over Barkley.
I would too, but I mean, I feel like there has to be someone else in there that you could.
Oh, there's got to be somebody else.
But between those two, yeah.
Let's see here. Justin Fields, Amari DiMercado, Roshan Johnson, Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Zach Ertz, Adam Thielen. I mean, the receivers here are dope, but like the running back room is like James Conner's on IR. I imagine this team also had like Nick Chubb,
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones is sitting out. Like this team just hurts at running back.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Aaron Jones and one of DiMercado or Connor or Roshan, once he's like back and it seems like has potential to kind of become the number one guy there, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I would be trying like Aaron Jones will be back, so I'm really not worried about that one. But that still means you need a secondary running back with one of these two. In which case, I'd be packaging Adam Thielen with Amari while the hype is still there for him. Because I think what Grant was pointing out at the beginning of the stream, that it's probably Keontae Ingram is the true guy over there. You package him with Adam Thielen. I don't really know what you can get for him.
Yeah. One thing where we usually recommend the opposite, but this team might be best suited to tier down from Tyreek Hill for two very solid guys.
I just feel like you can
like Tyreek for CD and Kyron or something like that. I think there's ways to tier down there that would probably help your team overall.
Yeah, I would even consider doing like. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, honestly, what to do. Like, I would just be trying to like package Adam Thielen with like Amari or O'Shawn, and then like tiering my way around to see like what's the true value I can get for running back, because I like how exactly it's going to work for somebody like Amari going in there.
You could go for someone like a Ford or something who has potential big upside there.
The thing is, like, you could have potentially gone for Brees. You can't really go for Tony Pollard. Let's see here. I don't know, like that's
maybe like a Damian Pierce or one of the lower tier guys that I think could pick it up in the second half of the season. He seems like a prime one of those.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's the only thing I look at that's like blaring for me. I don't know. I probably just completely blanked. We've got an angry person in the chat room because I gave him one bad call, and I'm just watching that kind of interact with one another. It's pretty entertaining. But shout out the chat for communicating with him that I'm not God. Let's see here. Even though the hair might be just like... No, I know it's surprising. I'm not. If I was omniscient, I don't think I'd be doing this.
Dude, yesterday there was someone in the Discord whose dad was a doctor telling everybody that Justin Jefferson is going to be back in 2 weeks. We had to put a lid on that super quick.
Bro,
you got to tell him that the IR literally means he cannot be back in 2 weeks.
It means if he's back for like 2 weeks, and then like he stays on IR for the extra 2 that he's supposed to. But yeah, like I don't mind this team. It's just like the running back room really needs help. To how it goes.
His dad probably worked at Epic Games too.
Well, he's boosting the Madden rating for Saquon's speed. But I would go with Mostert over Barkley this week, just because I imagine Andrew Thomas and the rest of the line won't be there either. Purdy, Bijan, Javante, Lockett, Ridley, Ertz, Puka. There's not really much you can do on the bench. Interesting that you can put Aaron Jones on injured reserve. I do think that's interesting. Just the RB2 and the wide receiver 1 that's technically here, and that Tyler Lockett aren't like really great. I'm assuming you're the one.
He's the one getting Ingram and Waddle?
I guess. I think that's how it's translated. I'd personally prefer to be on the...
They're pretty even. I don't think either one... It's pretty
even. I don't really want to be on either side, just because like I think Josh Palmer is irrelevant. But I do think...
Wait, but he already has... Oh, wait. Yeah. I don't think Waddle is too big of an upgrade.
That's kind of my thing. I look at like Ridley and I'm like, he's going to be consistently very strong. But like I do like Ingram more than Ertz.
And at least you have the number 1 option though on a good offense versus the number 2.
Yeah.
Which kind of separates Ridley a little bit.
That's what I liked about Ridley over Waddle personally. I'd rather trade Puka for Waddle and see if they go for that. Because it's basically you're dealing with the same thing. Just like different times of it.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Like the running back 2 is the only thing that really needs work here in your flex, but like that's essentially like what we're kind of vying for you here. And Aaron Jones will be back. I'd really just try to focus on the running back 2 spot more than anything. And the wide receiver spot can hopefully take care of itself, but I try to trade Puka for Waddle straight up and see if they'd be willing to do that. But moving on here, we got Stafford, Hill, Smith, Godwin, Ramondre, Miles Sanders, Sam Laporta, and Javonte Williams.
Wells, I'm probably gonna hop off real quick. I gotta get set up for my homie coming into town in like 15 minutes.
You're all good. Take your time. If you need to go,
Cool.
you can go ahead and go.
Cool. Catch you guys.
Appreciate you, Beast. Talk to you later. Let's see here. We got Tank Dell, J-Mo, Gus Edwards, Deontay Foreman, Josh Downs, Anthony Richardson.
Running backs are tough, but
running backs are tough here. That's really the most difficult spot for this is the running backs, and you can't really trade out of it either. You need Josh Downs or Richardson not to have a serious injury to really kind of pivot out of this.
they're all talented running backs, but just in decent situations, they just haven't really lived up to the hype at all this year. So you kind of just need some of them to pick it up, and your team will be looking a lot better. I'm sure this was a team where at the beginning of the year you drafted 2 receivers with your first picks, and it seemed like you could get through it well because you ended up with good guys. But it definitely hasn't turned out ideally. But I wouldn't give up yet. I think there's a chance for some better days ahead.
Yeah, and I just look like I'll get behind the Ramondre thesis of like he's got an easy schedule. He should be able to produce more. I can get behind that one. Miles Sanders and Javonte, I do have some questions on. I don't know. Like, realistically, you got to get one more strong running back, so maybe try to pair these two together. Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, and try to take a step forward with that. And then, like, flex can be between Josh Downs and Tank Dell each week. It's just very difficult in this kind of setup with 3 receivers and a flex. Let's see here. Oh, similar lineup, but a little bit better. Stafford, Adams, Metcalf, Bijan, Kenneth Walker, TJ Hawkinson, Puka Nacua. I'd just be trying to build up my flex here. I think Puka's great, but I'd be willing to sell him. I don't mind selling on Christian Kirk. And really getting just another top-end kind of running back to fill into this spot, specifically like Tony Pollard, I think should be on the table for you. But yeah, anything about this specific team, it just seems like one that takes 2 seconds. But
yeah, I mean, I think for now, I would potentially start Purdy almost every week. I mean, his numbers have been too good to doubt whether it's him or the system or the offense or whatever. It seems like you're probably a Niner fan as well with your kicker and defense there. I mean, I would throw him in there. I love the receivers. Running backs are very solid. Walker scares me a little bit. Just he seems very touchdown dependent, and he's not very involved in the passing game at all. But I mean, just as a guy, especially as your running back too, he's more than fine. So no real issues here.
Yeah. Moving forward, we got Herbert, Henry, Etienne, Tyreek Hill, Amon St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, Puka. And then we got Olave, Ayuk. I mean, this is a very, very, very strong team. Probably a very small league. I would go buy Justin Jefferson in this league because you have this is your team. It's an 8-man league.
Just take a flyer. I mean, the bench is way too talented. You can't have Higgins, Brees, Fields, Ayuk, Olave, like all those dudes. Even once Ashawn comes back, you'll have like Henry on the bench or something. All these guys are too good to just be sitting there. So sell high on Brees, maybe package him up for, like you said, Justin Jefferson, or maybe move Henry and Brees. Yeah.
It's just, as Grant's point, there's just so much talent on this team. Like, this is a spot I don't mind selling Chris Olave if I have to, because I have Brandon Ayuk, I have Puka, I have T. Higgins. Like, you just have so many options.
There's cover for everything.
I'd be trying to aim for Tony Pollard. I'd be aiming for Bijan Robinson.
Robinson.
There's just so many solid options that you can be going for here. Like, the sky is realistically the limit, in which case you just, take 2 elite players and go for somebody that you know is going to be a baller, and that of, Austin Eckler. We've been going for about an hour and 20 here. The first 5 minutes is just me meandering about fantasy basketball. That's where I've been at for the past couple days. So trying to figure out that world, which is a whole nother beast in itself. But that's why I've been. So if you haven't seen your team so far in the stream, it's either coming up very soon or it's going to be on the playback and the YouTube.
Most likely on the playback. We've definitely done more than we have left. So
yeah,
stay tuned to the YouTube.
I'd be trying to buy on Eckler specifically. I think Eckler is going to be an absolute monster in fantasy. Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Amon St. Brown, Puka Nakua, Raheem Mostert. I think this is a very, very, high point to sell on Raheem Mostert is after this weekend.
I think even before.
And even then before, I think it's a really good spot. I agree.
My advice on Mostert has been, if you need wins, then you need to keep Mostert because I think he's going to have a great 4 weeks. But I think if you're in a situation where you're 4-1 or something and the wins aren't as important or necessary right now, I think you need to be selling high on Mostert to a guy that needs wins because that role is going to dry up once Achon is back, and it seems like a perfect spot to capitalize on that. I wonder if this is the guy who was asking about Barkley versus Mostert.
This is our guy, Johnnery, here. He's letting us know he's 4-1 in the chat. He's just got a lot of things he can do.
Yeah.
We would be selling high on Mostert here.
Go sell Mostert. Go. I would do. This is a little bit weird, but would you do I think you could go get Eckler or something and get rid of Mostert and even Barkley or one of the two. And
I'd do Mostert with Amari Cooper is the kind of zenith I would go because I think that there's still seen as upside there.
Yeah.
I don't
what do you
mind
think
doing
that gets you?
I think it just helps your team overall to become just truly unstoppable. The only hole that creates though is the fact that your wide receiver 2 isn't going to be consistent enough in that kind of situation, unfortunately.
What if you do Mostert and Puka for Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, I would love that. I would love Tyreek specifically.
Or Devontae or Diggs, or go get an A+ wide receiver there and get rid of those two. And then, there's no shame in starting Saquon now or Zay or any of those guys. If you're starting a lineup going into the playoffs is McCaffrey, Pollard, Saquon, Amon-Ra, and Tyreek, and Laporta, you will not lose. So just
this is a very cracked roster, to put it very simply. But you only need to tier up this wide receiver 2 spot in theory. Puka and Mostert should easily be in the cards for you to sell right now, because you have Amari Cooper and Zay Flowers. Michael Thomas is honestly a very strong piece to have, and Saquon, it's cracked. It's a very, very strong team. A lot of places you can go. But moving on here, we have some trades that were made on this one. Let's see here. Lamar Jackson, appreciate you, Johnnery, and all the help you do in the Discord, and just for being with me for so long.
Did he get Cup? Probably.
I'm assuming. Okay, so we normally have a guy named Jackson on here who handles all the team requests, but he left because he's been dealing with us all day, which is a whole task in itself. But you go in the Discord, you DM him at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team on these
You'll
streams.
be on the stream on Friday, most likely.
Yeah, you'll likely be on the next stream because we got to watch the game tomorrow. But we got Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, Amon St. Brown, Evan Ingram, Gabe Davis, Tucker, and Lyons. I don't like him, Gabe Davis being in a flex, but I'm starting to come around to it. The bench is just very, very weak. I don't know why you would be dropping Jerry Jeudy ever. That makes zero sense to me.
I think it was the other guy.
If it was, then you need to be going.
I assume he's the guy that's receiving Cup, and the other guy is received Jefferson and Downs and had to drop Jeudy, if I had to guess.
I'm guessing. In which case, I would go ahead and drop Tyler Higbee and go pick up Jerry
Judy.
Judy. Just
Would
'cause it's better.
you start? Oh, you have Olave too. I like the bench here a lot. I mean, he hasn't like lived up to potential, I guess, but I think it's still tough starting
I'd
Gabe
still
Davis
be
over
starting him
Olave.
over Gabe Davis. Like
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think Gabe Davis. Like this is the problem with the matchup with the Giants right now. Is like you're not in any game scripts to where it's like okay, this is going to be back and forth. He's going to be throwing the ball. Then my guy's going to be throwing the ball. It's not like that right now with the Giants. With the Giants, it's just okay. You ran me over once, twice, three times. Now I'm not getting up.
Yeah,
Um,
there's kind of a weird. I mean, you have like Deontay and DeMarcado, who I think could
they could both emerge
potentially
into a
outscore your
role.
running backs here, which is kind of tough.
Yeah, they could technically emerge into a role, but I just don't think it's very probable. Um, Joe Mixon and Jonathan Taylor are fine for your running backs. Um, yeah, really not too much to say. Like I would just put Deshaun Watts. I mean Chris Olave in over Gabe Davis potentially, and like I would even consider selling. Like if Deshaun Watson is actually fine, I don't mind selling out of Lamar Jackson to improve that flex even further. But overall, this is a fine team. Let's see here. I prefer JSN's upside compared to Robert Woods refrigerator. Let's see here. We got Josh. So we got Super Flex League here. Alvin Kamara, Kyron Williams. I mean,
It's pretty sick.
this is an insane team. It has to be a very small league, or you just did some insane finessing.
It's got to be small, but
Yeah.
I mean, even in a small league, you have arguably the three best receivers in the league if Jefferson's healthy, and then you have, I mean, Puka, who is cover for Cup all season so far. You have
I just don't like
Penix
how you've
there.
rostered it specifically. Okay, this is your team. Sia, it's an 8-man. Like I don't like Kamara and Kyron are sitting in my running back spots and Etienne's in my flex. I think that's weird. Um, but like that's a very small knack. Like the only thing is making the right start sits with this specific team, and like I don't think that's very difficult to do. And yes, you send it to Jamari Moon. DM it to him, K, on Discord. Like this is a very very strong team. In theory, you build up the tight end to another
Find someone who wants
spot.
Kenneth Walker, probably.
Yeah, like I'd be willing to give up a running back that I have sitting out of all the plethora of options you have here, and building up your tight end to another like spot because like your running backs and receivers are insane on top of your quarterbacks, which really makes a difference in super flex. I'd go buy T.J. Hawkinson right now. Like I'd be trying to get T.J. Hawkinson specifically. He seems like the best option out of them. But I think that might have been the last team it was. All right, guys. So we've been live for an hour and a half now. So appreciate you guys for popping in here and hanging out with Grant and I and talking through some fantasy football. We'll be doing some more of your guys' respective teams soon enough here. So make sure to pop on the Discord. The link to that is in the bio. It's entirely free. You can chat with myself along with Grant and along with a bunch of other fancy other analysts and see how many times I say along in a sentence. And come hang out there for a while and ask as many questions as you possibly want. If you want your team rated, you got to DM our guy Jackson, who was on this call earlier. His username on Discord is at Jamario Moon, like the basketball player. And he'll get back to you on exactly how to get your team rated on these specific streams. This will be live on YouTube pretty much immediately after this is done here. And then, of course, you will see me back in the TikTok stream streets, giving you guys start sits for players that I am particularly emphatic about the week, as I am now researching fantasy basketball and annoying Grant and Jackson throughout the day on exactly what is a running back in terms of fantasy basketball. But I appreciate
We'll be
you
doing
guys.
this
Yeah.
style of stream again on Friday as well. So if we didn't get to you or you sent your team in after Jackson left, it'll be on Friday. But tomorrow, if you have any questions about Thursday Night Football or anything going into the weekend, we'll be in the fantasy channel of the Discord all day. Send in whatever questions, trades, whatever you got. So we'll see you in there for sure as well.
And then make sure to go check out the video of this, I guess, after. So it'll be on YouTube for you guys immediately after. But But appreciate y'all. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And talk to y'all later. Peace, y'all.